Awesome.
Well, good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Visionary Women and our Member Spotlight series. My name is Piera Klein, and today we have a wonderful guest, Dr. Sarah Figueroa, Vice President of Para los Niños and Chief Operating Officer. We're so delighted to have you with us here today.
Thank you.
Dr. Sarah. And before I go into a more formal introduction, I'd like to share just a little bit about Visionary Women for those of you who are new to us. Visionary Women is a unique nonprofit organization. We are membership community, membership based, and we really are a learning circle as much as we are a giving community. To date, we've raised over $2.1 million in our humble beginnings in our short time of being together. And we've given to over 57 organizations. That includes globally and locally. Our passion and our motto really is women empowering women. And that's what we're all about. We're community driven, we love putting events to come together around topics that we care about. So we have our salon series, our coffee and conversations, member spotlights such as this. And also up and coming, we have our International Women's Day Summit, which we're really excited to share with you in the coming days. So let's dive in. That's about Visionary Women. And if you want to learn more, you can go to visionarywomen.com. Dr. Sarah Figueroa, I'm just going to read a few highlights about your bio, and we're going to dive right into this wonderful member spotlight with you.
Great.
Since 1999, and forgive me guys, I have a few notes here. Since 1999, Dr. Figueroa has been working in and around the education field. She is an accomplished leader with a passion for serving urban communities to ensure they're provided access to high quality services and education and opportunities. You hold a bachelor's degree from University of San Francisco, a master's from Rutgers University, and a doctorate in educational leadership for social justice from Loyola Marymount University.
Yes, thank you.
So let's start at the beginning. We want to know you better. And I'd like to know a little bit about your background. Can you share, I know we spoke offline before this interview this morning, that you were raised in Boyle Heights in that area, but can you dive in, tell us about your background and where you come from?
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and it's a privilege, and I appreciate the opportunity. I am a native Angelino, which I think in LA is a pretty rare thing these days. I'm born and raised here in Lincoln Heights, so just north of Boyle Heights. I have come from a big family. So my mom has 9, 10 other siblings, and we all sort of grew up in this small block radius. I'm one of 5, so second of the oldest in my family, and I'm married, and I have a 5-year-old that's just been such a blessing.
And can you tell us a little bit about your family coming to California? I know that we had talked briefly about your grandfather and coming over first, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So my grandfather came to the United States in the 1950s during the U.S. program called the Bracero program. And it gave him an opportunity to come to the U.S. He worked at the Southern Pacific Railroad right in Lincoln Heights. And then in 1961, brought over my grandmother and their kids. I think there were 9 at the time, and then 2 more once we got here. So where I knew what I identified as my grandparents' home, that was the only home that I've ever known them to live in, and the family. So fortunately, they were able to purchase a home in a community that at the time was really shifting from a primarily Jewish and Italian community. And they were one of the first Mexican families to move in. My grandfather worked at Price Pfister for 30 some years. and grandma was incredibly busy raising 11 kids.
I imagine. I
And,
imagine.
and 10, it was 10 girls and one boy. So added to just the number, she had to manage a lot of different personalities. Um, so that was their story, the immigration story to the US.
And coming from a big family adds a whole another element, and having, what is that, 10 different aunties and uncles, and probably dozens and dozens of cousins.
Absolutely.
Growing up the second of five. I mean, I know I'm the oldest of seven. That's something not a lot of people know about me, but it's just a totally different world growing up in a big family and the support systems that you create within that structure. And that's leading into my next question, because you chose to go straight into academia initially, and you went all the way. And I'm sure that's very extraordinary in your community. Can you speak to a little bit about what inspired and encouraged you and made that even possible?
Thank you. Yeah, it was. So we grew up, like I mentioned, I went to school 2 blocks from my house. My high school was 3 blocks from where I lived. So very, somewhat of a sheltered upbringing. We were around all of our cousins. I think there were probably 60 or 70 at the time. Not a whole lot of external friends. I think we just didn't have room to put a lot of outside friends. And so when I decided to go to the University of San Francisco, it really was a decision that shook our family, because no one had left before. We were all sort of in a cocoon, in our own community, and it was something that I think was difficult for them to understand. But once I got the blessing from my grandmother, she sort of quelled a lot of the conversation that was circling around why I wanted to leave, and a lot of discouraging messages. I think there was a lot of fear, to be honest, fear that what I would encounter there, and not having a community in place in San Francisco was something that was concerning for my family.
Mhm.
But I ended up deciding to go there. It was a great experience. And one of the things that my grandmother said to me before we left, she drove with my mom to drop me off. And she says, you have to do what makes you happy. And when I told my mom that, she said she never would have given me that advice to her kids. But she gave me the courage and the knowledge that I had somewhere soft to land. She said, you go and do what makes you happy. And if San Francisco isn't what makes you happy, guess what? You can come back and we'll still be here, and we'll pick up and continue where we left off.
And I think that's so important to have those supportive structures, whether they're in our family or outside our circle in our community, of just people who are there cheering us on and encouraging us to go forward, which leads me to another question, because we had talked a little bit about some of the visionary leaders. Since we are visionary women, I always like to ask a question about who are the visionary women in your life, or who has inspired you. And you mentioned a few, and you mentioned your grandmother, who you've spoken a bit about. You mentioned Senator Romero and Celeste Matina, a few others. Can you speak to a little bit about this visionary leadership and what inspired you about them?
Yeah. So, there are times in your life when you're sort of in a reflective mode. I think just before I was done writing my dissertation, there's a dedication page, and you sort of like, wow, well, who has really shaped who I am, and what sprang from that, what sort of came out from that, are a lot of women that I've been fortunate to have along the way, that have given me opportunities that I wasn't qualified for, in terms of just the number of years, the experience, the degree, whatever it is, that have given me advice, that have given me courage. Senator Romero was one. She's a tough woman. And I understood why once I went to Sacramento with her and understood that she was working in an environment that was very male dominated and not a, well, no, I don't want to say not welcoming. It was a tough world to operate in up there. And she really took a chance. Sorry, she took a chance on me. She offered me a position in Sacramento, and put me in places and in positions and in meetings that I normally would not have had access to. I remember one time she was running late for a meeting and asked me to be there before her so that I could represent the office. And when she walked in, there's sort of this huge round table. All of the members, the senators, the leadership is sitting around the table, and the staffers, which I was a staffer, sitting around the table against the wall in folding chairs. And so I sat in a folding chair. And when she walked in, she sort of looked at me and took her seat at the main table. And I remember walking back to the office with her, and she said, when you're representing yourself as a woman in a leadership position, which you are, and you're representing me, you take your seat at the table.
Love that.
Noted, got it. And from then on, if I was representing her in a leadership meeting, I sat at the table. And I think it sort of took some folks off kilter a little bit, but they understood. I understood that.
And she wanted to empower you.
Absolutely. And I didn't know what was happening at the time, but later on in you reflecting sort of what happened, it was a powerful moment for me. Yeah. I think the other, you mentioned Celeste Matina. Celeste was a regional director that I worked with in New York. And I got an internship and worked with her. And she's just amazing, incredibly smart. She's an attorney by trade for the labor board and very well respected in the industry. I knew that, I heard that, but I was an intern. I had my caseload and I worked it and I did the best that I could. And I remember they gave me a really tough case that I worked, and I had to present it to her and one of the other leadership members there. And she took me aside after and said, there's, based on what I've seen, and I didn't know that I was being seen, right? I was just sort of doing my work. She recognized me for my potential and gave me her vision for who I could become if I stayed in the labor board. And I think it was the first time that I sort of even considered that I could go as further than where she was. And that was eye-opening. It was encouraging. It was inspiring. It sort of took the limits off of what I imagined for myself.
She planted the seeds of vision in you.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful when that happens.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people see things within us that we don't even see ourselves. And likewise, we see qualities and traits in others, and we can see where they're going and where they're going to grow. And it's so exciting. I love hearing that story. That's not a story I heard before our talk. You mentioned her name, but it's so true and it's so empowering. And it really speaks to this idea of transformative leadership. I do want to segue just a little bit for those that don't know, diving into you and into your background. I stumbled across so many interesting papers and articles. I came across your dissertation, and it was about the power of transformative leadership and what some of those tenets are. And as I was reading the pages, I was so moved because these are like empirical truths that resonated so deeply, but I had never really heard them spoken in any leadership seminar or anything like that. And so I want to talk about transformative leadership, as this is what you are doing at Para los Niños. You're empowering, those that are disenfranchised or those who are in the margins to be transformed and have incredible opportunities. So I saw the correlation between the work you're doing today and your paper. And then I also want to get into the work you're doing for Para los Niños, because it's absolutely incredible. and everybody needs to know about it, and everyone needs to hear about it. But yes, let's get into it. Just a couple, maybe just like leading thoughts to prep our audience, and then you can sort of fill in the blanks on these things. Some of the things that you talked about in transformative leadership and what makes it happen is collaborative decision-making, a visionary leader that's a team builder that forges deep relationships within a community. You talk about the power of positive communication, creating a democratic environment for open discussion. And, again, coming back to creating a vision of the future and being able to pass that on to the community, but they make it their own. And I loved all of these things. So anywhere you want to jump in on any of that, I'm excited. When I read this, I felt like, I could dive into this for hours. So, but we don't have hours this morning, but just a little bit about what's inspiring you, or what pops out from that right now.
For me, the core part of that paper was leading with authenticity and leading with a sense of love for the community, whichever community you are part of, and we're a part of many communities, leading with love, leading with respect, and leading with a sense of exchange. That I, as a leader working on behalf of communities and with communities who are disenfranchised, who have been underserved, I'm not fixing them. I'm not doing to them. It really is a reciprocal relationship where I'm learning a ton from them about who they are and what their needs are. And being able to listen, the visionary part is really important. I remember when I was doing my interviews for the dissertation, one of the leaders mentioned to me, hope dies last. And that is what communities hold on to. There's hope for a better future. There's hope for more opportunities. And once the community loses hope, it is incredibly difficult to be able to penetrate the fabric to create change. Mm-hmm. And so communicating the vision for what we as a team and what we as a group would like to do and what we as a community want to see is key to that, because it really anchors the work, the hard work that comes after, the discussion and the decisions are made for the next steps.
It's so powerful, and it's so true. And I love that you said to start with love, and you have to love the community you're serving. I agree with that more. That is true, authentic leadership in its finest. And I was just so inspired. So many of these tenets really resonated with me, and just the power of collaboration and team building. And I know these are things that Visionary Women is also very passionate about. And so I felt so much synchronicity and alignment.
Absolutely.
Can we talk now a little bit about Para los Niños?
Yes. So Para los Niños started I think we're in year 41 or 42 at this point. The pandemic sort of blurred it. Right before the pandemic, we were celebrating year 40. But Para los Niños started in Skid Row as by a social worker, Tanya Tull, who created a space for the children of Skid Row, the children who were living in apartments, and wanted to create a space that was safe, a space for them to be kids and for them to flourish. Fast forward 40 years, we're an agency with 17 locations, 450 staff. We have 10 schools, so we serve students, children as young as 6 weeks old through 24, and provide a lot of wraparound and support services to them and their families. And that looks like, it could look like mental health support, family services, child abuse prevention, re-engagement of our youth who have been disengaged from schooling. They dropped out for whatever reason. We re-engage them, provide them opportunities to attend trade school, to attend college, financial literacy supports for families. I mean, it's just the gamut. And really at the core of what we do is the acknowledgement that the student does not operate in a silo by themselves. There is a family, there is a community that exists around them, and each of those groups affects who they are and the circumstances in which they operate. And so if we provide, if we strengthen the family, if we strengthen the community, then the student thrives. And that it really is who we are. It is an organization that is fully aligned, that I'm fully aligned with in terms of my values. I feel I'm given the opportunity to, I have a leadership role, but there's a difference in having the title and being given the space to speak authentically, to create change, to make decisions that I feel at our core are who we are meant to be in the community. I mean, I can't say enough positive things about who we are and the changes that we're able to make, and the amazing families and students that we serve. They're just incredible.
I love hearing a woman who's so passionate about the work she's doing, filled, empowered, and you are an incredible leader. It's such a pleasure just to be engaged in this conversation with you. You're inspiring me. And I just feel the love that you have for the work that you do. And that's such a beautiful thing. Tell us a little bit more. I know you have several charter schools and locations, and there's a lot of stuff going in East LA. And even I'm coming to you, from downtown today. So I know that you have some stuff, some centers not far from here. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on the ground here in LA?
Yes, of course. So in downtown LA, we have a couple of, one charter school that serves middle school students in the Skid Row area. And our students there, a good number of them are coming from the Union Rescue Mission. Since we're the only middle school in downtown LA, our elementary school, which is right sort of Arts District adjacent, those two schools plus our early education centers, like I said, we serve students as young as 6 weeks old, so babies through preschool, and then hopefully they go on to our elementary school. We serve a community that makes downtown run. The floral district employees, the produce district, the piñata district, the textile industry, a lot of our families are service workers in downtown LA. They can drop their children off as early as 7 a.m. and pick them up at 6 p.m. and know that they're safe, know that they're in an environment where the staff really just envelops them. We give free breakfast, free lunch, free supper. Homework is done. So 6 p.m. comes and you're picking them up and getting on the bus, or picking them up and driving home, and things are sort of set, right? That's really what we try to do, so that our families can focus on other things. I mean, we all have families. We're part of families. We're part of communities, and once we get home, there are a lot of things that need to happen, and that's really who we serve. Downtown LA, We have another primary center that is just west of downtown, just west of the 110, our Gratz Primary Center. We serve the Pico Union community there, which is a slightly different community. They're local residents and some of the highest impacted communities in LA in terms of demographics.
And so the work you're doing really is integrative, and you said wraparound services, but really it's like you're coming around these families and providing the parents the ability to go to work if they don't have childcare, to make sure their kids are getting 3 square meals a day and an education, and if they have other needs. So it's sort of like it's like a community hug. You know, you're coming around and really supporting these families,
Right.
making their lives possible to function. I mean, I can't imagine what people would do without the support. I mean, it's really so important and crucial to the welfare of these young children, families, teens, and just to have supervision and encouragement and support. So
as a parent, I'm more deeply appreciative of the work that we do. Students need, if they need to go get fitted for glasses, we have Vision to Learn that comes to school. We have we partner with USC Dental Services to take care of that. Any dental needs on campus. Mental health services are all done on campus. And so the need for families to take off from work to handle appointments, the most that we can take care of for them, we do at school, because we understand it's a disruption. Not all families and have employers that allow them the time. You know, they're hourly workers, so having them leave work to take care of eye appointments or dental appointments is a loss in wages as well.
And the work that you're doing is fantastic.
Thank you.
Inspiring. And I am interested to get into a little bit about how the pandemic, we're in pandemic / post-pandemic times. We're kind of heading towards the end, we all hope.
Sure hope so.
And I know that, you know, the work sectors and education sectors have been impacted greatly. We had a great question from Holly Burrell, who I know introduced you to Visionary Women.
Yes.
And I just want to thank and acknowledge you, Holly, for bringing Dr. Sarah Figueroa to us and for this spotlight. You're absolutely incredible. You both are amazing women.
Thank you.
Maybe even before you get into the pandemic, can you touch on this connection with Holly and how you came into Visionary Women?
I was thinking about Alex the other day, and in our conversation, after our conversation, Piera, about who inspires me and who gives me hope. And Alex Burrell is definitely one young lady that gives me hope for our future. And it's how I came to know the Burrell family. Alex, being the amazing young woman that she is, emailed and was looking for an internship. And she interned with Para los Niños with me and was doing some really creative program development work. I couldn't believe she was a high school student. I mean, just the work that she did with us. It wasn't just about the internship. It went way beyond the internship, and I'll tell you why. The school that Alex was going to was recruiting 6th graders, and after Alex got to know a lot of our students, she advocated for our school to be introduced to their school. And what came out of that was a lot of support for students that from Para los Niños that were interested in applying to the Brentwood School. And we actually, with Alex's support and advocacy on that side on the school side, and us sort of pushing with support from the Burrell family and getting our student support for the application and the student and the testing and all of that, we have now 3 students from Para los Niños at the Brentwood School, and we have
Yay.
4 in the queue that are applying, and 100% has to do with the seed that Alex planted many years ago. And I wish I could see her. I haven't seen her in a while. We touch base every blue moon via email, but the lives that she's changed just by introducing Luna, who's our student, to the school, and her family, and her younger brother is there now. I just get the chills thinking about where Alex is going to be in 10, 15 years, where Luna is going to be 10, 15 years from now. And were it not for just, it's sort of like things that happen in the universe, right? Where it sort of shifts. You really pivot. And for Luna's story, I'll speak just for what I know, that pivot happened because of Alex. And so that's our connection with the Burrill family. Holly and the rest of her family have just been amazing to us in supporting us, in continuing to encourage us. And, definitely Alex is one person, one young lady that gives me hope for the future.
Yes to that. And so it really speaks to the power of, reaching across and, reaching out and wanting to inspire and empower each other. I think, it just takes one touch. It can take one conversation. It can take one recommendation. We don't really know the impact that we can have.
Absolutely.
And we are all catalysts of change if we want to be. We can all make a difference. We can all make a difference in someone's life if we want to, if we have the vision for it. And I'm just so excited to hear this story. For those of you that don't know, Holly Burrill is our membership chair. And, she's just, Holly, you've got such a tremendous gift for bringing people in. And so if any of you haven't met her, please, at one of our events, reach out. But I'm so excited to meet extraordinary women who come through this organization, who are making an impact in their own lives, in their own communities. And we really are speaking about the power of transformation today.
Mm-hmm.
We're really talking about what are these things, what are the keys to transformation? And this goes back to loving your community, authentic leadership, and having a vision even for others. That's something that you spoke about with, was it, what was her name? Was it Bettina?
Celeste.
Oh, Celeste.
Celeste Matina,
who planted those seeds of vision in you. And it's a chain that keeps going. I really see that we can water the seeds in each other.
There was, so I never think Celeste. I think I was sort of shocked, and I was shocked, I was taken aback. And then the days turned into the end of my internship, and I sort of went my own way. And maybe 7 or 8 years later, I was at a seminar, and they were talking about, it was a women in leadership seminar through, I think it might have been Coro, somebody. And there was a woman speaking about the importance of acknowledging and thanking those who have been critical in your path. And I think this is very important. I've tried to make it a habit of mine, but I tracked Celeste down, and I just sent her an email, and I thanked her, and she responded, and she remembered the conversation, but didn't know the impact that it had on me. Wow. And so I took that, and I started emailing other women in my life that have made changes, just to simply thank them. And what I learned from it is, it doesn't take a lot to encourage and to support and to inspire other women. Sometimes it is just a whisper in the ear. You got it. I see you. Keep going. You're amazing. It's this sort of small nudge that ends up really just moving the boulder for some of us. And I think that's important. I think it's very important. I mean, obviously the big moving of the boulder is great, but I hope that I encourage us to sort of have that eye and look around us to who other women that are sort of just doing their thing,
Yeah.
and
And
yeah,
cheerleading each other
and
and
cheerleading each other, or that
yeah,
need a cheerleader.
and the support. I love that.
Mhm.
Let's go back to this question about, just how the times of the pandemic and COVID have impacted your experience in education. Maybe some of the difficult things and some of the silver linings.
Oh
And
gosh. I think the pandemic hit us the way that it hit a lot of people by surprise. It was a Friday and we decided to shut down, and Monday everybody went remote, and all of the things that we didn't know about our families and our students came rushing at us like a tidal wave. It was just no internet access, or very little internet access. Um, Little to no access to devices, financial support, how many of our families lost jobs, and then access to food became an issue. And so PLN as an agency really shifted to respond to that. So we never really shut down 100%. My team, the operations team, moved pretty quickly, along with some leaders at the school sites, to buy as many Chromebooks as we can find. I mean, we were scrounging just like everybody else because the vendors were low on inventory. And so we were able to get devices across the agency to every single student. We were able to get hotspots for students that didn't have Wi-Fi access in their homes, or access to low to no cost Wi-Fi at their homes. And then one incredible thing is we did have a lot of support from nonprofits, from private funders, who wanted to make sure that food was not an issue. And so we distributed hundreds of thousands of boxes of food on a weekly basis to our families throughout the pandemic. We had a pause it recently just because of the surge, but it changed us as an agency to really respond to the direct needs of our families. And now what we're able to, I mean, our families are just going from low tech to high tech savvy, and being able to use their phones for surveys and access to information. They were communicating more regularly via Facebook, Dojo, emails, I mean, you just name it. It really has pushed us all into a more present time, when technology is really the core of how we access information.
And I think that's a big key of even, one of the good things that has come out. I know it's been difficult in so many areas for so many, but one of the positive things is that we're really learning how to connect in different ways and still retain that authenticity and meaningfulness. I know in education, it's so important for students to connect with the teachers and to understand their lessons. But having a computer in a home where there wasn't a computer before, or the internet, that will change a family's life.
Absolutely.
And it's so exciting to see how, in a difficult circumstance, the emergency aid that you guys brought is going to have a lasting impact way beyond this time. It's sort of accelerated the outreach to fulfill this need now. It made it urgent. It made it an emergency. And so I just know that this is going to continue to have a ripple effect in a positive way. And And I'm sure it's transformed even the way your agency operates if people are working from home and,
Oh,
there's
yes.
remote communication going on. I mean, this morning we're having our conversation on Zoom, which is now normal for us. But 2
Mhm.
years ago, we didn't know what Zoom was.
Right.
What was that? So here
Right.
we are, and we're seeing already how our world is changing through technology and communication, and it's exciting. It's interesting. It's people do have are speaking to a little bit of the Zoom fatigue and the need for connectivity, which we all crave, just that human engagement. But it's so great that we're not separated and in the dark ages. So it's one of the silver linings. I wanted to open up the floor. I think this is a great time to take some questions from our audience who's been chiming in and listening today. We're so excited. I'm excited to see that we have 40 guests tuned in, and we'd love to encourage you all to use the chat bar at the bottom of your screen where it says chat. If you click on that, you'll see a little window pop up. And if you want to send questions, I'll just be going through them, looking for what's appropriate, and let's just dive in. I'm very excited. So if anyone has a question, please feel free. And if you have any questions for us, Sarah.
Thank you. I do want to speak while folks are writing questions about what Visionary Women has been able to do for me, and really just exposing me to women in leadership positions outside of my world. My world has been education for 20 plus years, and I've learned so much. It's inspiring to me to see women in industries that I wouldn't normally be introduced to, I wouldn't normally be given access to. And so that I deeply appreciative for the opportunity to be part of this community.
Thank you for that. And I know you just joined during the pandemic. I believe it was September of 20. So it was just around the time that we were pivoting and going online. And so you came at a time where even, things we were all adapting to this new world. And it's so amazing to connect, with women from so many different areas through these portals and channels that we have now.
Right.
It's completely inspiring. Here we have a question. Let me just see. Sarah, first of all, thank you for letting us get to know you. Secondly, can you share what you see as the long-term consequences of COVID on children in education? What are they missing?
I think what we have seen, and I'm afraid of what we don't see right now, is a lot of folks have talked about the trauma that has been experienced by our children. I would say that would be one of the long-term effects. The learning, our teachers and our school leaders do work their magic and do the very best that they can. So we'll work as a community to make up the learning, but it's interesting to see their experience over the last 2.5 years, in not just experiencing COVID, but going through a national conversation on race, a national and a global conversation on democracy and elections and all of that. And I can't wait to have these youth get into a place where they're really verbalizing and talking about the impact that all of these, it's really, I think, changed the mindset, and it's opened them up a lot more to the reality. It sort of saddens me because they were forced to to have to see and learn and be exposed to a lot of things at such a young age, both within their households and how they were directly affected by COVID, loss of work, loss of family members, and health that has impacted them.
Yes, and on that point, someone had a comment, which is interesting, and I've heard this before. It says, hello, when COVID hit, I feared for abuse at home. And a lot of people were concerned about this as an issue. Is this something that you've seen an increase or spike in, or is there a way to approach it? How are you guys responding to this concern?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. We did see at the county level a sharp decrease in the reporting of child abuse. We have a contract with the Department of Children and Family Services and a department within PLN that is prevention and aftercare. So it's prevention of child abuse and aftercare. And those caseworkers did not stop during the pandemic. Again, we had to shift to Zoom. We were checking in on our families still, providing them services still through Zoom. We were able to not go into the homes, but our caseworkers were at the homes, outside on the sidewalk, making sure that there was eyes on children, conversations with children, and support for our families. We did see definitely an increase in the amount of stress that was upon caregivers, parents, grandparents, caregivers of children. And I just to emphasize, we continue to provide support. We continue to take referrals and give them the supports that they need. Now we're sort of doing hybrid in-house so that we can fully get to where we were pre-pandemic, which was in-house weekly visits and regular conversations with the students and their families.
Well, thank you for that incredible support that you guys are providing. It's so important.
It's a great question.
And we applaud you and Para los Niños for all this incredible work. A couple comments and questions. Someone says, God bless you for all the humanitarian work you're doing for society and that you do so much. Some people want to know how to get involved, which I'd love for you to share with. And then before you get to that, could you answer this question? How long was the trajectory from zero to this incredible outreach? How do people and how do people find out about you? That's from one of our board members. And yeah, just starting from zero to
how PLN grew.
Yeah, what was there like a pivotal moment that enabled this incredible expansion in such a short period of time, or what do you attribute it to?
I think it was a response to the need of the community. We have particularly so response to the need, a shift. So we shifted from being a place where the children of Skid Row came, had as a haven, to once there were less families living in Skid Row and more workers in the various industries. That's how we sort of grew to be more childcare and school based, and then added on the additional supports to the end of the day to respond to the need for the local employees to have somewhere.
So literally we're just adapting and responding to the needs in real time.
Absolutely. And that, and a lot of word of mouth. We have a lot of families that have multiple children in different programs, siblings, cousins, neighbors. That's really what the trust that our families have in Para los Niños is sort of our secret sauce. It's where they trust us for support for undocumented communities, mental health, even COVID vaccines. We've run clinics, oh gosh, probably 10 or 11 clinics at this point over the last 6 or 7 months to get the vaccine. And a lot of times we'll come to your clinic because we trust you. And that is really our best way of sort of advertising and pulling in students and families and clients.
And it's really also a testament to your leadership structure that you're able to adapt and pivot quickly to meet changing needs in your community. There are some structures and in different organizations that are less adaptable, or they're slower to move. So it really is a testament to that leadership style, that transformative leadership style that we had talked about earlier, just being ready to go in real time and listening to the needs of the community and loving the community and finding new solutions. So I'm very inspired by the work.
It was hard. It was really, we had some really key decisions to make as a leadership team. And the incredible part of it was there's 7 of us at the executive team level. There was full alignment in who we needed to be. And our board has just been amazing and supportive and has gone to bat for us and has provided not just financial support for the agency, because a lot of this work is done through foundation funding, through individual giving, but the trust that the board has in us to make these decisions is critical.
I have a couple more questions here. It's like there's so many great questions. One is about sex education, and another is about children with special needs.
Mm-hmm. We have one of the really important elements in our schools is we have social workers at each of our schools and family caseworkers in each of our schools. And what that allows us to do is to have appropriate conversations with our students and our families together about what is happening. I used to love going to, and particularly at the middle school, first day of school, we do sort of a family orientation, and we have our mental health therapists, our social workers, our psychiatric social workers there that talk about physiologically what is happening to the brain of a student in middle school and how that impacts how they react to things, how they interact with you as a parent, with them as friends, things that they need to be looking out for, what families need to be looking out for, social media, all of that stuff. And to hear families sort of have those conversations, oh, I get it. I mean, we really get into the actual brain and what's happening and the parts. Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible just to have those conversations and to have that, to give that information to our families around awareness of, what's happening in the media. We also have a department, a special education department that provides supportive services to our children with needs in the school day. They're not in a special day class, they're in the regular student classes with everyone else, and we provide them the appropriate supports that they need.
And coming back to this idea of, women and young women supporting one another as visionary women, I'm very curious for you what your hopes are for, the young women of today and your vision for women of the future.
I love that the young women that I've been privileged to be a part of their lives and them a part of my lives, they're bold, making bold decisions, moving with purpose, moving with their values at their core. I spoke about Alex earlier. Martha Sanchez is another up and coming leader who is just moving in that direction, just very focused. And that is what that they give me hope, they give me inspiration, and I hope that we as women will continue to be loud, be bold, take our seat. We don't have to ask permission, and I love that. That really is my hope for the future. I think that we all sort of, it's I don't know how to sort of describe it, but this is just a movement that is not stopping. There's momentum. Thank you. Yeah, there's momentum in who we are and in what we're empowering each other to be.
Well, thank you for that. And we are so excited to have you as a wonderful, valued member of our community. You're doing so much to impact the lives of children and families. And for us, as an inspiration, as a beacon of light and encouragement of the difference that we really can make together and what women can do. And you've said so many you've left us with so many special nuggets. I think I'm going to walk away with a few, having a seat at the table, taking your seat at the table. And you don't know the ripple effect, that you can have changing one life, as you shared the story between Brentwood Schools, Para los Niños, and some of the women that have encouraged and influenced in your life, and the power of saying thank you and the power of acknowledgement is transformative, and some of these keys. So I'm just so grateful that we could share this hour together with our wonderful visionary women community. For those that would like to learn more about Para los Niños, can you give a little direction where they can learn more?
Yes, our website, www.paralosniños.org. You can call us. You can feel free to email me, Figueroa, like the street, at paralosniños.org. We have missed you. Oh, wait. Oh, Beth. Sorry, I just got a direct message. Oh, Beth, I didn't know you were here. There's a member who was at the former agency where I worked. Yes, I did mention to Piera, Beth, the impact that Camino Nuevo and Ana Ponce had on my development. It's just could not have really gave me the space to complete my doctoral degree and to be a mother. So yes.
So thank you so much. And
absolutely.
To all of you, again, we are Visionary Women. This has been a member spotlight. To learn more about us, you can visit our website at visionarywomen.com. And I want to leave you with one little tidbit, something to look forward to that we're very excited about. Coming March 3rd and March 8th is International Women's Day celebration. We have an incredible lineup of speakers, soon to be released and announced, and incredible programming. And we just want to encourage you all to stay with us, to thank you for staying with us. And we hope to see you soon. Signing off. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Piera.
Thank you.